Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and Shabbat Shalom to those of you who are joining us on YouTube and those of us who are joining us on our templeshalom.com live stream. We're happy to have all of you with us online. I know we've got several folks who told me they're going to be online with us. So for all those people I talked to earlier today who are online, hello to all of you. Thanks for being with us. We begin as we open our Siddur to page 128 and 129. For those of you who may not be familiar with a Jewish prayer book, because we have some guests this evening in the building, the book goes from right to left, not left to right. So it's not printed backwards, it's just printed forwards for Hebrew. And as we turn to page 128, near the top of the page, not the first song on the page, but the second one, Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. What a beautiful day it is, Shabbat Shalom. For those of you that just walked in, page Shabbat Shalom to you, good to see you. And page 128 is where you want to be. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. 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 Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Now I know you guys are getting a little bit of feedback there, aren't you, here? So we were just getting the sound fixed for the high holidays, and it's seems like it's a little bit on the harsh side here, so I'm just going to fix that a little bit to make sure that it's all good and won't be so. I'm hoping that's going to do it. We'll see if that makes it so that we get. I think we got rid of the feedback, don't you think? Does it sound that way? Just shake your heads yes and make me feel good. Beautiful. It's great. It's all gone. And then there we go. Alrighty. On page 129. One song up from the bottom, a song of Shabbat that comes from the Sephardic tradition. Ki Eshmera Shabbat, because I keep Shabbat. El Yishmerini, God will keep or watch over me. Ki Eshmera Shabbat, El Yishmerini. Ki Eshmera Shabbat, El Yishmerini. Oti le'ol me'at beino uveini. Oti le'ol me'at beino uveini. Ki eshmera Shabbat el yishmerini. Ki eshmera Shabbat el yishmerini. If you turn back to page 120, you'll find the blessing for lighting our candles. Our final Shabbat of the year. It's 5782, and the next time we gather for Shabbat, suddenly it'll be 5783. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kidishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. We turn to page 130. We begin our Kabalat Shabbat. This section of the service was added by the Kabbalists, the mystics in the city of Tzfat, northern Israel, about 500 years ago. This section didn't exist in the prayer book until 500 years ago. So it's brand new. I mean, by Jewish standards, it's pretty brand new. Only 500 years, it's like nothing. And Moses is thousands of years ago. But they came to this realization that people were on their own getting themselves prepared. This is about preparation for Shabbat, not Shabbat. Just like the month that we're in right now, the month of Elul, is about preparation for the High Holy Days, not the High Holy Days. It gets us kind of in the mood, getting us prepared. And so the rabbis of Tzfat put together 6 psalms, one for each day of the week, Sunday through Friday, and then a little bridge to Shabbat, and then a psalm for Shabbat. So we'll make our way through our preparation, in this case, both a preparation to bring in Shabbat and a preparation to bring in the new year as well. Page 130, Psalm 95. Lechu neranena l'Adonai, let us sing joyfully to God. Lechu neranena, neranena l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, neranena l'Adonai. Come, let us sing a song to Adonai. Come, let us sing a song to Adonai. Lechu neranena, neranena l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, neranena l'Adonai. Naria l'tzur yishenu, tikadma fanav v'toda. Naria l'tzur yishenu, v'zmirot rialo. Lechu neranena, neranena l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, neranena l'Adonai. From Psalm 96 on page 131, the paragraph at the very bottom says, Yismechu hashamayim, the heavens will be happy. V'tagel haaretz, and the earth will rejoice. Yiram hayam, and the sea will join in. Umaloo, and all that fills them. The animals that fly, the animals that live on the earth, the animals in the sea, and the sky itself, and the earth itself, and the sea itself. All of God's creation gives thanks to God for itself, for all of creation. Yismechu hashamayim, the bottom paragraph, those 2 lines at the beginning of the paragraph, page 131. Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, umelo. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, umelo. Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. From Psalm 97, which we find at the bottom of 132. Looking at the last 4 lines, you'll see that there's that bottom little paragraph, Or Zarua La Tzaddik, light is sown for the righteous, Ul Yishrei Lev Simcha, and for the straightforward of heart, happiness. If we are righteous people, if we are good-hearted or straightforward of heart people, if we're righteous people, we will have light. If we are good-hearted people, we will have happiness. This is the season, this month of Elul is the season. I'm going to poll every one of you to find out if you've been doing the work. The work of Elul is this. We're supposed to get ourselves prepared because what's the happiest day of the Jewish year? Yom Kippur. Who doesn't believe me? You're all shrugging, you're not sure. Yom Kippur, everybody thinks it's the saddest day of the year because there's a Yizkor service, right? Remember, people have died. We're fasting. We're repenting for our sins, right? Doesn't that sound like the happiest day of the year? Well, not at the beginning, but at the end, what happens at the very end? When the very end of the service comes along, our souls are pure because we've done the work of repentance. And is there a more joyful moment than when you have a pure soul, right? And so this is the idea of what we're doing during this month leading up to the High Holy Days that start Sunday night, 2 nights from now. And if we are, as these words of this psalm tell us, if we are tzaddikim, if we are righteous people, we will have light. And if we are good-hearted people, we will have happiness. And what's better than light and happiness? Chocolate ice cream. But chocolate ice cream, I only get the very light, L-I-T-E, chocolate ice cream, right? And that gives me happiness too. So light and happiness, which we can interpret in so many ways, will come to us that really we have that light and that happiness to spread around to everybody else as well. Or Zarua La Tzaddik, Ul Yishrei Lev Simcha. 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 Ul Yishrei Lev Simcha. Or Zarua La Tzaddik, Ul Yishrei Lev Simcha. Ul Yishrei Lev Simcha. Lai 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 lai. Psalm 98 on page 133. We read together in the English at the bottom of the page. A psalm. Sing to Adonai a new song, for God has worked wonders. God's right hand, God's holy arm has won God victory. Adonai has manifested God's victory, has displayed God's triumph in the sight of the nations. God was mindful of God's steadfast love and faithfulness toward the house of Israel. All the ends of the earth beheld the victory of our God. Raise a shout to Adonai, all the earth. Break into joyous songs of praise. And Psalm 99 on page 135 is one of those joyous songs of praise. We're so joyful that as the last 3 lines tell us in Hebrew, Romemu Adonai Eloheinu, we exalt Adonai our God. V'hishtachavu lahar kodsho, we bow down at God's holy mountain. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu, because Adonai our God is holy. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu, v'hishtachavu lahar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu, v'hishtachavu lahar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu, v'hishtachavu lahar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu, v'hishtachavu lahar kodsho. On On page 136 and 137 is Psalm 29, the last of our 6 Psalms of praises, leading us into Shabbat. We read together in the English on both pages. A Psalm of David. Ascribe to Adonai, O divine beings. Ascribe to Adonai glory and strength. Ascribe to Adonai the glory of God's name. Bow down to Adonai, majestic in holiness. The voice of Adonai is over the waters. The God of glory thunders, Adonai, over the mighty waters. The voice of Adonai is power. The voice of Adonai is majesty. The voice of Adonai breaks cedars. Adonai shatters the cedars of Lebanon. God makes Lebanon skip like a calf, Sirion like a young wild ox. The voice of Adonai kindles flames of fire. The voice of Adonai convulses the wilderness. Adonai convulses the wilderness of Kadesh. The voice of Adonai causes hinds to calf and strips forests bare. While in God's temple all say glory. Adonai sat enthroned at the flood. Adonai sits enthroned sovereign forever. May Adonai grant strength to God's people. May Adonai bestow on God's people well-being. Those last 2 lines of the Hebrew on page 137 are Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Those last 2 lines, may God give us strength. May God give us well-being. We begin with the nigun, a little bit of lie, 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 to bring our melodies into our hearts. Page 137. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 Adonai oz le'amo yitain yitain. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Adonai oz le'amo yitain yitain. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. On page 138 and 139, we come to Lecha Dodi, a poem written in the 16th century, welcoming Shabbat like Shabbat is a bride, welcoming in the beauty of Shabbat. In this time period, the Kabbalists of Tzfat, who made this section of the service, they viewed Shabbat as a wedding. So Shabbat is the bride and the Jewish people are the groom, and we would welcome in the bride. They wanted to use this imagery because it was the most beautiful imagery they could think of when a bride shows up, right? At the wedding. Everybody's happy. Is anybody unhappy at the wedding? And maybe the person paying the bill, I'm not sure. But everybody who's at the wedding is happy to be there. And when the bride comes in, it's a joyful moment, right? Everybody's happy. We're filled with joy. And the poets of Tzfat 500 or so years ago wanted to recreate that kind of joy. And so this is the joy they made when they put this poem together. We'll sing verses 1 and 2 on page 138 and verses 5 and 9 on page 139. Lecha lecha dodi likrat likrat kala pene pene Shabbat nikabela. Lecha lecha dodi likrat likrat kala pene pene Shabbat nikabela la 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 lecha dodi likrat likrat kala pene pene Shabbat nikabela. Lecha lecha dodi likrat likrat kala pene pene Shabbat nikabela. Shamov zachor b'dibur echad ishmi'anu el hamiuchad. Adonai echad v'shemo echad l'shemu tiferet v'letfila la 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 la. Lecha dodi likrat likrat kala pene pene Shabbat nikabela. Lecha lecha dodi likrat likrat kala pene pene Shabbat nikabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki hi makor ברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תפילה, לה 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 לה, לך דודי תקרת תקרת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי תקרת תקרת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. Page 139. התעוררי, כי בעורף קומי אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, גיבור אדוני עלייך, לה 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 לה, לך דודי לקראת לקראת קלה, מפני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת לקראת קלה, מפני שבת נקבלה. We rise, we face the door, as we welcome in the image of the Shabbat bride with verse number 9. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha uvtzola, toch emunei am segula. Boi chala, la 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 la, lecha dodi, tikrat tikrat kala, pnei pnei shabbat nikabela, lecha dodi, tikrat tikrat kala, pnei pnei shabbat nikabela, la 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 la, lecha dodi, tikrat tikrat kala, pnei pnei shabbat nikabela, lecha dodi, tikrat tikrat kala. Before you're seated, since we've welcomed in the Shabbat bride, we'll welcome each other. You can move around the room, wish each other Shabbat Shalom, a peaceful Shabbat. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And to those of you who are joining us on YouTube, those of you who are joining us on our Facebook, on our TempleShalom.com live feed, Shabbat Shalom to all of you as well. Well, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Since you're all standing up, if you want to move to closer seats, I won't complain. But if you want to stay in the seats you're in, you can do that too. It's up to you. Do what you want. There we go. Here we go. I got all the girls here moving up to the front row. Excellent, excellent, excellent. All righty. We're going to make our way to page 140. I convinced a few people to move up. That's not too bad. Not too bad. All righty. Page 140, we come to Psalm 92. In ancient times, in very ancient times, the Levites in the ancient temple in Jerusalem would sing this psalm in a song as they were preparing the temple for the sacrifices on Shabbat. We have no idea what melody they sang. Why don't we have any idea? They didn't leave us any musical notation. I mean, it sounds like the silly answer, but that's really the answer. The ancient Israelites, the ancient Jews, did not leave us any notations on how they sang all of this stuff. So in modern times, we've been charged with finding melodies for it. So this is a fairly modern melody, 100 or so years, I don't know. Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat, a song of Shabbat, page 140. Tov L'Hodot L'Adonai, it is good to give thanks to God. You know what it's good to give thanks for? When you lost something and now you found it, right, Aviva? When you lost something and you found it? Oh, well, but there you go. It's always good to have a lost thing found. That brings me great joy, especially it brings peace on Shabbat. Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat, we sing together on page 140. Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat, Tov L'Hodot L'Adonai, U'Lizamer L'Shimcha Elyon, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלינה ולליל היגיון וכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. כי שימחתני אדוני לפעולך, במעשה ידיך ארני. מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. We continue as we turn to page 144, as we move from our Kabalat Shabbat into our Ma'ariv, our evening service with Chatzi Kaddish. Yitgada v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, Yalmad yivrach Yerutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala, ba'agala, uvizman karivim eru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach, le'alam olam me'amaya, yitbarach, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei dukudusha, v'yichu le'elam min kol berchata, v'shihirata, tushbechata, v'nechemata, dahamihiron be'alma, v'yimeru. Amen. We rise, we turn to page 146 for the words of Baruch Hu, our prayer that is our invitation to prayer. Lai 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 lai. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamevorach, Baruch Adonai Hamevorach, Hamevorach Eolam Va'ed, Hamevorach, Hamevorach Eolam Va'ed. We can all be seated. On page 148, we continue with Ma'ariv Aravim. This prayer takes on an extra special meaning tonight on this Shabbat, more so than any other Shabbat, even though we do say this prayer on Shabbat every single week. We say it every single day. But on this Shabbat, it takes on extra special meaning because this is the Shabbat right before we come to creation, celebrating creation, which is what we celebrate with the new year, and we'll all turn in our books. Even my girls right in the front here, they're going to turn in their Siddur to page 148 and join with me too, right? We're going to read the prayer in English first, and then we're going to sing the end of it in Hebrew. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates and thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzivaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Praised are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. 3 lines from the bottom of the Hebrew. El Chai V'Kayam, Tamid Yimloch Aleinu, Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Amari Aravi. Lai 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 lai. On page 150, we give thanks for the gift of Torah. Again, we're coming near a change in the cycle of Torah. We are near the very, very end of the book of Deuteronomy, and in just a couple more weeks, it's right about 2 weeks from now, we will begin reading, maybe it's 3, we'll begin reading at the beginning of the book of Genesis all over again, so that we can learn the laws and the commandments, the pathways that are in the Torah for us to guide our lives. Ahavat Olam, everlasting love. You love your people Israel, giving us your Torah. We sing these words on page 150. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Ahavta, Amcha Ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot, Ukim u'mishpatim, Otanu lemadeta, Otanu lemadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shokvenu v'kumenu nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed ki hem chayeinu ve'orech yameinu uvahem nehege yomam v'layla nehege yomam v'layla ve'ahavatcha al tasir miminu le'olamim baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael ohev amo Yisrael. As we turn to page 152 and 153, since I have a few of them here, I'm going to ask my 7th graders and my 6th graders in the room to come up and help me with Shema V'Ahavta. I see you all the way back there, Sarah. You can come up too. Yeah. Just you can leave, just the 3 of you. All right. We'll wait for all of you to get up here. All right. I've got a book for them here. So you've got my book here. All right. We have some members of our 6th grade class, 6th and 7th grade class, who are going to all equally share the microphone right here. They're all going to figure out how they can all fit here in front of this microphone that's right there. You guys ready?
No. Cough, cough. Who's ready?
And we'll join together with them on page 152 and 153.
Oh, I know that.
And then we'll continue on 154 with the Ahafta. You guys ready? Shema
Yisrael, Adonai, Eloheinu, Adonai, Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed.
And on 154, we're all going to join together with our students here as we chant together with them V'ahavta. And I know that I'm just going to do this. You know what this is, you guys?
No.
This is me turning up the volume knob on you guys so we hear you a little bit
Is this
better.
even on though?
I thought you were just turning your
okay.
thumb.
Hello?
Ready? Here we go.
Oh,
V'ahavta et Adonai Elecha v'chol rocha v'chol nafshecha v'chol yodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'el asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al v'lecha V'shinantam l'mecha v'dibartam v'shivtecha v'betecha v'lechtecha b'derek v'shokbecha v'pnecha v'shartam le'ot al yodecha v'hayu l'tafo b'einecha v'ptatam Amezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim le'elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem Me'eretz Mitzrayim Liot lachem Le'elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. Thank you.
I didn't know that one. Yeah, it's just. What?
On page 157, we read responsively at the bottom of the page, in a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when nation will be in one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did. We sing as they did, or at least so we can, I think it's probably cool enough in here, maybe we can just turn that off. Is everybody cool enough? Okay, we'll turn the swamp cooler off and we'll have a little less noise from it and we'll all be cool and comfortable. But not too comfortable because remember the Israelites were wandering through on the next page, on page 158, they were wandering through the Sea of Reeds. They were making their way from slavery to freedom. It wasn't quite comfortable yet. And so they saw that they were making their way toward freedom, even though they were complaining a little bit here and there. They still saw the beauty of their freedom. And at this time of year, had they known of such a thing, they might have changed the melody of Michamocha. Because we sing Michamocha, this next prayer, these words that the Israelites sang at the Song of the Sea, in many different melodies, but around the time of the Yamim Noraim, the high holidays, we changed the melody to be the melody of the high holy days. And so Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot מלכותך ראו בניך בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים זה עיד אנו ואומרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגואלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גואל ישראל. Each night we ask God to lie us down in peace, to spread a shelter of peace over us, to protect us through the night, to keep us away from any harm that might come to us, to watch our going and our coming, now and forever. These words at the top of page 160, and then in the indented paragraph in the Hebrew, Ushmort Seitinu, watch our guard our coming and our going, for now and for always, for life and for peace. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu v'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chayim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu v'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chayim. The indented paragraph near the bottom. Ushort Seitenu Uvoinu L'chaim u'shalom Mi'ata ve'ad olam. Laila lai lai laila lai laila lai lai laila lai laila lai 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 laila lai laila lai lai laila lai laila lai lai laila lai laila lai 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 laila lai. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu v'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chayim. Shomreinu l'chayim. Shomreinu l'chayim. The number 40 is a big number in our Jewish world. 40 days of the flood with Noah, 40 years of wandering in the desert, 40 times 10 years of slavery, 40 days that Moses went up the mountain, and then he came down, and then another 40 days that Moses went up the mountain, and then he came down, and then another 40 days that Moses went up the mountain, and then he came down. 3 separate trips Moses went up the mountain to get laws from God to give to all of us. 40 days each time, adding up to 120 days. There's a whole story that, if some of you took my class that I taught on this last year, let me see, I don't think any of you were in that class, but from Tisha B'Av, the lowest point on the Jewish calendar, the destruction of the temple, until the end of Yom Kippur, when our souls are pure, the highest point on the Jewish calendar, is how many days? 120 days. Moses went up the mountain 3 times for 40 days. The first time he went up was Tisha B'Av, right? Well, actually, he came down with the destruction of the tablets. And 120 days he came down the mountain, and here we are about to be, well, we're 12 days away from the 120 days, but pretty close. Tisha B'Av's right in the middle of that, actually. Shavuot is the beginning, Tisha B'Av the middle of the 120, and Yom Kippur at the very end of those days. So first day going up the mountain, Shavuot, the holiday of giving of the Torah. Halfway through Tisha B'Av, the lowest point when the temples were destroyed, and again Yom Kippur, the ending place. If you never took that class with me, I'm going to teach it again next year. You guys should come. It's a 1-hour class. It's great. It's fabulous. You'll love it. I gave you the Reader's Digest version, but actually at the full class, it's really quite interesting. But we sing these words that Moses was given when he was coming down the mountain for the final time. And God said, is there one thing that all of the Israelites need to know? And the one thing they all need to know, if there's anything, is on page 162. I don't think God told Moses page 162, but in this version it's on page 162. And God said to Moses, tell the people that the people of Israel will keep Shabbat, and they will observe Shabbat through all the ages as a covenant between me and them. Because in 6 days I, God, created the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day I rested, and they should do so too. And so they should repeat these words because they're important words to know. Ve'shamru b'nei Yisrael Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ולעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ולעולם. בני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ולעולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ולעולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ולעולם. Turn to page 164. In a moment, we'll rise for our Amidah. We'll begin with the Zimun, or the little meditation, on 164, and then we'll begin with our first few paragraphs on 165. The Amidah goes from page 165, or 166, I should say, 166 to 180. As we make our way through the Amidah, there's a few ways that you can pray this section of the service. This section of the service was laid out in the Talmud. It's laid out in Masechet Brachot, and we're given the different sections of it. But the rabbis actually didn't write all the prayers that are here in the Talmud. They actually just wrote the Chatimah. Some of you have been in a class where I've taught you the word Chatimah. Does anybody know what the word Chatimah means? It does not mean possibly. What do you do when you write a check? At the bottom of the check, you put your signature. Chatimah means signature. Baruch atah Adonai, fill in the blank. That's the signature of the prayer. Like Baruch atah Adonai, and then we fill in the blank with whatever the theme of that particular blessing is. So the rabbis laid them out for us, but in later days, other rabbis wrote the actual words that we have in the prayer book. In our Siddur, this particular Siddur, on the even-numbered pages are the traditional prayers with a couple of twists in them. In the Hebrew, the English transliteration and an English translation. On the odd-numbered pages are a poetic rendition of the theme. It's not a translation. It's a poetic rendition of the theme of each of the even-numbered pages. So you can read the Hebrew, you can read the English, you can read the poetic renditions, or if you find it in your own hearts and your own minds, your own soul, to write your own prayer. The rabbis of the Talmud sanctioned that also. In these moments, we're going to sing the first 3 paragraphs together, and then we'll become silent for everybody to find their own place in prayer on the pages of the book, or the pages of your heart, or the pages of your soul. But we will begin together as we all rise, page 164. You never knew that because you didn't take my class on the Amidah, which I might just teach again next year. So if I teach that class again, you should come. You'll learn more about the Amidah. It's a beautiful section of the service. Page 164. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agid tehilatecha baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah,
Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, El Hagadol, Hagibor, Vahanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vizocher Chaste Avot Ve'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach Umagin, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magin Avraham, Be'ezrat Sarah, 168, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechakel Chayim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umechayim Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'agivurot, Umido Melach, Melech Meinitu Mechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Atah L'chayot HaKol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechaye HaKol. 170, Atah Kadosh, Yeshua Kadosh, Ukadoshi B'chol Yom Yahaladucha Selah, Baruch Atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. We continue silently again with the even or odd pages through 180, 181, or your own private prayers. When you're finished with your silent prayers, please quietly be seated. Page 178. 178. A prayer for peace. May we have it in every minute, in every hour, for your people Israel, for Jerusalem, for all of the world, in every single moment. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki Ata hu Melech Adon lechol hashalom, ki atahu melech adon, lechol hashalom, shalom raha, al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam, shalom raha, al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam, v'tov be'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. This week, we read from a Torah portion called Nitzavim. It's always the Shabbat before Rosh Hashanah. Why? The calendar puts it that way, but it kind of is designed so that we'll hear the message of Nitzavim. It's one of the shortest Torah portions, by the way. So if you come to services tomorrow morning, it'll be one of the shortest Torah services we have all year long. But it begins with the words, Atem nitzavim kolchem hayom. Actually, reverse two of those words. Atem nitzavim hayom kolchem. That's what it says. All of you stand here today. All of you. And then it says the tribal chieftains and the tribal princes and the elders of the tribe and all of the men of the tribes. And then it says, and also all of the children, and all of the women, and all of the babies, and all of the people who are not part of the Israelites, who are not Jews, but who left Egypt, because we know there were some who left Egypt with the Israelites, and they are standing here, and it says, even the woodcutter and the water drawer. Why would it give out these two professions? Well, we'd probably say, if we were rewriting the Torah today, we'd say, and all of the people who were there, everyone, the men, the women, the children, from the people who are the richest people in the country and who are the elected officials of the country, all the way down to, the guys who pick up trash at the sports arena after the game is done, and the guy or the girl who puts your groceries in their bags at the store. Or whatever job we think is the lowest paying job that there is. The day laborer who stands on the corner. Every person was there to enter into the covenant with God. And then it goes on to say, every person, even those who are not with us here today. And it doesn't mean that some of the people went on vacation, because when you're wandering through the desert, there's not a lot of places to go on vacation. I mean, not back then anyway. And quite frankly, where they were in the desert, even today, not so many places to go on vacation. So what did they mean by those who are not with us today? Well, they meant us, all the rest of the generations. Everybody, every member of the Jewish community, now and for always, is standing here today, Moses tells the people, to hear the lessons from God. Every single person. Now, if you look around the room tonight, you'll know that Moses was also talking to the couple of people who are members of Temple Shalom who are not here tonight. There's only a couple, I know. Almost the entire congregation's here right now. But for the couple of people that aren't here, you're included too. And then Moses gave this message to the people and said, listen, All of these laws that I've been giving to you over the time that we've been in the desert and the review that I've done over the last several days, they are within your reach. They're not, as it says in the Torah, in the heavens, that we need to send a special person or an angel to go up to the heavens to get God's words and bring them down to us. No, we don't need to do that. They are not so far across the sea that we need to hire someone special to go across the sea and bring them back to us. They are in your heart. And by you, I mean everyone. The Talmud kind of goes on to discuss this a little bit and says, Ezehu chacham, halomed mikol adam. It's in Pirkei Avot. Who is wise? The one who learns from everyone. Well, how do you learn from everyone? Well, the Talmud tells us that too. It says, one of the rabbis of the Talmud says this, he actually says it in two different places, but he says, Harbe limadati merabotai. I have learned a lot from my teachers. Umichaverai yoter mirabotai. And from my friends, I've learned more than from my teachers. Umitalmidai yoter mikulan. But from my students, I have learned the most. What does it mean? It means we learn from everybody. It means that the person who's the rabbi standing up in the front of the room, whether that's me or some other rabbi, we don't have all the answers. We probably have a pretty good list of questions. It means that the professor standing up in front of the room who has the fancy letters PhD after their name, we might have one in the room right now, doesn't know all the answers, but has a lot of great questions. The more we learn that there is to learn. Before I was a rabbi, I didn't know that there were so many Jewish questions to ask. David, I'm going to guess that before you were a chemistry professor, you didn't know that there were so many chemistry questions to ask, right? Absolutely. And you didn't know how much you don't know. I like to tell people all the time, now that I've been a rabbi for at least a little while here, it's been at least a week or maybe longer, I don't know. But I have almost reached the place where I am getting very, very close to having mastered 1% of all the Jewish stuff there is to know. I'm not there yet. I'm not at 1% yet, but I think I'm getting close because there's so much to learn. But it's not so far away that I need to send angels up to the sky to get it. It's not so far away that I need to hire some ship to go across the sea. It's close by. Every bit of Torah learning that I do is close by. You know when I learn Torah? Always. You know, some of my best learning, when I learn a lot, happens on Sunday mornings between 9:30 and 12, and on Tuesday afternoons between 4:30 and 6. Because during those times, my teachers teach me a lot of stuff. You saw 3 of my teachers up here leading Shema and V'ahavta. Because when I'm in the classroom with them, they teach me a lot. I hope I teach them some stuff too, but they teach me also. As we get closer to Rosh Hashanah, 48 hours or maybe 47 or so, as we get ever closer to the new year, and we look inside our souls to repent for the things that we might have done wrong, to find pathways that are better pathways for our year, we should commit ourselves to learning more and not trying to learn the stuff that's far off and distant from us, but learning the stuff that's right here in our own hearts, the things that are in our own mouths, the words that we say. And we should learn them from everyone, not just the people that have some titles of being teacher, because teacher and student often reverse back and forth, back and forth. Sometimes that teacher's called parent, and sometimes that teacher's called child. Sometimes that teacher's called professor, and sometimes that teacher's called student. Sometimes that teacher's called rabbi, and sometimes that teacher is called congregant. We all teach each other. And the way that we make the world a better place is we learn from those who are different than we are. That's the best way to learn. Find someone who thinks differently than you do. Find someone who looks at the world differently than you do. And learn from them. When we do that, we gather that knowledge. Because remember, Atem nitzavim hayom kolchem. All of you were standing here on that day. Every one of us gleaned some wisdom from God giving us the Torah. So every one of us has a little wisdom to share with the people around us. In the year that comes, share your Torah wisdom with others, but more importantly, I think far more importantly, try to gather a little bit of the Torah wisdom of everybody else. And if you do, remember the Talmud said, Ezehu chacham halomed mikol adam? Who is wise? The one who learns from everyone. Indeed, in this way, you and I will be wise in the year to come. Shabbat Shalom and Shana Tova. If you'll turn in your Siddur to page 371, we take a moment to turn our thoughts to those who are in need of healing. We ask God to bring refuah shlema to Carrie Susser, Brian Zabel, Reuven ben Tzipora, Moshe ben Avraham, Avram ben Adul, Ellen McIntosh, Susan Perry, Paltiela bat Mordechai Bavasha, Harriet Neal, John Sheck, Faye Green, Howard Chook, Malka bat Hillel Halevi, Cheryl Miller, Charney Oppenheim, Jessica Sidman, Yaakov ben Baruch, Susan Sarachek, Yisraelit bat Hilda, Carol Miller, Howard Messerman, Judy Salkin, Yisrael Aharon ben Reuben Chaim HaKohen, Chris Todd, Mike Larison. Do we have any other names that anybody has? Any names that you would like to pray for healing? Healing of body, healing of soul, healing of mind. Anybody on this side of the room, names for healing? Go ahead. Thank you. Anyone else? On this side, any names for healing? Thank you. Any others? Thank you. For all those we've named, for all those who are in need, we join together in these words of healing, a little bit of Hebrew and a little bit of English, right there in the middle of page 371.
May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Nishebera imotenu mikor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We come to the closing prayers of our service as we turn to page 586. We rise for Aleinu, 586.
at the bottom of the page. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, lateit gidula liotzer bereshit, shelo asan kogoye ha'aratzot, velo samanu kimishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu 588. Shehunat hashamayim veyoser haaretz, umoshav yikaro b'shamayim mima'al, ushchinatu zo v'gove meromim, hu Eloheinu einod, emet malkeinu efes zulato, kakatu b'torato, yadata hayom v'hashivota elevavecha, ki Adonai hu Elohim, bashamayim mima'al, ve'al ha'aretz, mitachat einod. Middle of 590. Ki hamalchut shelcha hi ulam yatimloch bechavod, kakatu b'toratecha, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed, v'ne'emar, v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol ha'aretz, v'yom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, u'shemo echad. We can be seated. In our yard sites this week, we recall the memories of Markita Zadarova, Nathan Friedman, Stephen Newland, Lena Bartner, Abraham Friedman, Arnold Benton, Baruch Bram, Baruch Friedman, Betty Chernow, Faja Bram, Hal Blonstein, Haskell Friedman, Urs Shukir, Isidore Shapiro, Jacob Berland, Laja Bram, Leah Bram, Level Bennis, Lipka Bennis, Mendel Bram, Mayor Feinberg, Mordechai Bram, Morris Katinsky, Moshe Bram, Paula Cohen, Renee Graham, Rivka Friedman, Ruthka Bennis, Sarah Bennis, Yehit Bennis, Yankala Bennis, Yitzchak Graham, Dave Douglas, Rose Tenenbaum, Marshall Silver, Morris Karsman, Donovan Barnes, Jonas Silverstein, Tilly Rifkin, Helen Reich, Leonard Levy, and Sarah Hadisman. We are also in the middle of the period of Shloshim for Joel Weiss. Are there any other yard sites that anyone is observing? Yehu Zicharnam Levracha, may their memories be an eternal blessing. We ask mourners to rise and those whose custom it is to stand with them as we turn in our Siddur to page 598, and in their memory we sanctify God's name. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam alamei almaya, Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Yitpa'ar, V'trumam, V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitalei, V'yithalal, Shmei d'kudusha b'reichu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechamata, T'amiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shamaya, V'chayim alinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav, Huya aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. You can all be seated. A couple of announcements. Yeah, I know what the announcements are. The announcements today are easy. Rosh Hashanah starts Sunday night. Be here. That's kind of the Shabbat services tomorrow morning at 9:30. Sunday night at 7 p.m. Erev Rosh Hashanah services. 9:30 in the morning on Monday morning and Tuesday morning are first and second day Rosh Hashanah services. Please make sure that you bring your tickets with you because our security will be checking tickets of each and every person who comes through the door. Unfortunately, over the last 2 to 3 years, the number of anti-Semitic incidents and the number of attacks in the Jewish community has skyrocketed here in the United States. And therefore, we've paid for some extra security this year. And please make sure you bring your tickets with you to make sure that security can check your tickets. Arrive a little early because there will probably be a line getting in. We will have a bring your own potluck kind of oneg on Sunday night. So if you're coming with us Sunday night, please bring something to share. We do have some things the temple's provided, but we'd love to have you share something with us. It'll be downstairs in the downstairs social hall at the end of the service on Sunday night. It will include apples and honey, both to eat here and some honey to take home with you as well, to wish you all a good and sweet year with the sweetness of the honey. Again, remember, on Monday morning at 9:30, our service. 10 days later, Yom Kippur, there will be Tashlich on Monday at 4 o'clock at Sonderman Park. If you don't know where Sonderman Park is, that's what Google Maps is for. By the way, Sonderman Park is named after Fred Sonderman. If you don't know that name, I will tell you who he was. Fred Sonderman, a park here in Colorado Springs, he was the very first president of Temple Shalom. And so the park's named after him, and that's where we'll do our Tashlich ceremony in the park named after him. So please join us there. Check the temple calendar and your Tuesday bulletin for all of the things that you need to know for high holidays. Guess where else it is? It's right on your ticket. The dates and times for everything: Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Tashlich in the middle, Kever Avot, the ceremony at the cemetery in between. All the Sukkot events are all on there. Everything's on your ticket, everything you need to know. So check your ticket. For those of you who are online with us, we'll be online again for high holidays, either on our Temple Shalom YouTube page and also on templeshalom.com on our live feed there, so you can join us for the high holy days, each and every service, with the exception of Tashlich, which we will not be broadcasting from the park, but everything else, and will not be broadcasting from the cemetery for Kever Avot, but everything in the building will be broadcast on one of those two channels, so please join us. Remember that you can always use smile.amazon.com and your King Supers card and box tops for education, and the one I always forget, what's the Shutterfly. When you get your pictures and stuff, you use those. Temple Shalom makes a little bit of money. It helps with the budget, and it costs you absolutely nothing. So please use those things. We want to thank the wonderful Beth Zimmerman and the wonderful Lisa Sherwood for setting up our oneg tonight. Our oneg is going to be not in its usual place because all of the chairs for high holidays are in its usual place. So we're going to go all the way back to the hallway at the very, very back of the sanctuary for our oneg at the end of the night. That's going to be after we finish with Adon Olam on page 625 in your Siddur. And actually, I changed my mind. 662. Go to 662. There's the words you're going to need. Since it's Rosh Hashanah tomorrow, we'll wish each other a Happy New Year 47 hours in advance. How's that? Or 46 hours now. It looks like something like that. Just repeat these words after me. Lishana, Tova, Tikatevu, V'tichatemu. It means may you be written and sealed for a good year in the book of life. You can find my hand outside of my tallis. And I think we'll do it in the key of there. I think that's a good key. Lishana tova tikatevu, Lishana tova tikatevu, tikatenu lishana tova, lishana tova tikatevu, lishana tova tikatevu, v'tichatenu lishana tova. Shabbat shalom, everyone. A peaceful Shabbat and Shana Tova, Umituka, a good and sweet year to all of you. We'll join together in just a moment, way back at the back end of the social hall for a little kiddush, a little hamotzi, and a little bit of snacks. And to you online, Shabbat shalom, and we'll see you tomorrow morning and for Rosh Hashanah on Sunday. Shabbat shalom, everyone.